Welcome back to another class. We're going to start with swan dive today. I'm hoping, of course, you've already done your setup, your warm-up and your mobility standing. You've maybe done your spine stretch and your roll down to push up. And now we're down on the mat and we're face down. And first thing I want you to do is just allow yourself just to completely relax into the floor. Draw those hips slightly up towards your rib cage. Draw your belly button away from the mat. Your forehead is going to sink into the floor. And I'm going to start slowly by extending through the neck and then sliding the fingertips down towards my knees as I engage through the back of the ribcage, the thoracic, and then maybe working through the lumbar spine, the lower back, and maybe then working through glute max and hamstrings as I extend through my hips as well. I'm going to relax the legs down and then relax my torso back to the floor and allow myself just to have that little bit of a breather. Try to keep that connection with your corset muscles, lifting up through pelvic floor, drawing your belly button in towards your spine. Breathing out, taking your time. You might breathe in on the way back, or you might do an in-breath as you hold and breathe out as you return to the mat. I'm adding some external rotation at my shoulder joint. And of course, we'll get a chance to work more through the shoulder joint when we do our hip exercises today. I'm allowing my forehead to sink into the floor, taking all the tension out of those extensor muscles of my spine and of my hips as well. Through the neck, through the rib cage, lower back and hips. And when you finish that one, we'll come up into an all fours position. We're going to do a thread the needle stretch. And so you're kneeling, hands are on the floor. I'm going to take my right hand, place palm upwards, and then slide it underneath the other one as I bring my right cheek down to the floor. I can hold this position, still stretching out, or I could come back. Let's move a little bit further away from the camera. Left hand, palm to the ceiling, and then sliding away. Again, I could keep thinking of stretching, in this case under the chair with that hand, getting a lovely stretch through this region, as well as the back of the shoulder. Breathe as you come back. So normally I do a couple of those in each direction. Breathing out. I might hold it here for a couple of in and out breaths. Coming back, one more. And we'll continue with some lovely mobility by rolling onto our side and doing our chest release. Note which side you're on, because we will be going to the other side, of course, soon. Length through the crown of your head, tightening up your belt one notch, get that feeling of space between the side of your waist and the mat. And we're going to guide the head just for the first couple as we breathe in as the elbow comes to vertical and out as we roll backwards, breathing in and out. As usual, with our breathing, if you get confused with the breathing, just don't hold your breath. Keep breathing and trying to relax through the muscles that don't need to work. I'm keeping my hips nice and still, and that will allow me to focus on the rotation of the ribcage and the opening up across the front of the shoulder and chest. You know there's various options that you can do with this. You could be doing the circles. You could be doing circles with rotations as well. You could be just doing the arcs, and with all of them you could hold a position. You might go, oh, I'm a bit tight and stiff there. Generally I'd support my head, and your head's quite close to the mat usually when you roll backwards, because as that shoulder rolls backwards and downwards, so too with the back of your head. Just one more of those, and then we're going to roll onto our back and move into our chest release before we do the other side. You'll remember that your heels are that little bit closer towards your buttocks. You don't have the legs at 90 degrees at the knee. And keep your feet nice and flat, but get that feeling that you're pushing them away, stretching away from your bottom, and that will engage those bottom muscles and hamstring muscles to initiate the movement. I've started with just a fairly small movement. Remember that lower back, it's filled with a sponge if you're in neutral pelvis. And we're going to just slowly squish down on that sponge, one vertebra at a time, from your tailbone, sacrum, and through those 5 lumbar vertebrae. And come back. We're breathing out as the body moves, we're breathing in as we hold. I'm engaging my gluteus maximus a little bit more as the hips leave the floor. And of course I come all the way up to my full ski slope. And if it's ever uncomfortable coming all the way up to your full ski slope, you might find, oh, that's a bit uncomfortable, say through the lower back. We'll find the point just before it becomes uncomfortable, and that will be your point for today. We're looking for pain-free movement. So breathing out, rolling up. You may not come to your full ski slope. You might stop because you know going a bit beyond is a bit uncomfortable today. Take a breath in and then rolling back down. So listening to your body, working within your functional threshold for this particular moment in time. And it will vary from day to day. It will vary from hour to hour. You might be better in the mornings. You might be better in the evenings. Balance between left and right, and you're trying to get that smooth movement, that smooth rolling on the way up and the smooth rolling on your way back down. We are going to roll over onto our other side to do our chest release, and we've also got our first of our 2 hip exercises. Just the 1 pretzel stretch today. I love to do 2 pretzel stretches, but it's just a time thing that we'll only do 1 during today's class. If you want to do an extra one, stop the video and do one after we've finished doing the first of our hip exercises, which is coming up shortly with clams. So once again, I start off focusing predominantly on what's happening with my rib cage, as well as, of course, keeping my head and neck alignment. I've just done a comparison between my left and my right, and hopefully you've done the same. And now I'm going to add the chest release, as well as my thoracic rotation. So I've still got that rib cage rotation. It shouldn't be any different with the arm out. In fact, it might actually increase ever so slightly. First of our hip exercises is our clams. So with this one, generally I would have the feet at about tailbone height. If you're pregnant or if you're having some pelvic floor issues today, you might want to leave that leg completely on the floor, and that's okay. Otherwise, you're going to hinge between both your heels and also between the balls of your big toe. So I'm not doing this, and I'm also not doing that. So just having that 2-point hinge. I'm working, my hips are stacked. So this hip's directly above the other one. And I'm working through these back pocket muscles as I work through my deep lateral rotators. And rather than just opening on the out breath, closing on the in breath, where you're not really holding this particular position for long, you could of course do the pretend extend. When you open up, pretend you're kicking out your shin, pretend you bring it back in, and then bring the knee back close. If I was doing the kick, it would look like so. Well, this is one variation before I become hinged again and close. So continue with your clams. We will get to the other side soon. We've got a couple of exercises. We've only got one really on our back, but we're going to challenge ourselves with our up, up, down, down shortly. And then we'll change sides. So while you're just finishing your clams, I'm just going to have a little drink of water. And then we're going to move into our up, up, down, down, initially for awareness. And then we're going to progress the exercise, or we'll have the option of progressing it and making it more challenging. So with our up, up, down, downs, as per usual, find neutral pelvis. You're going to have your corset muscles engaged, but the love handles are relaxed, and your six-pack muscles are relaxed. Now you need to use them. Now you can relax them again. Corset muscles the whole time are working. No doming of your tummy, no loss of alignment. I've still got that natural curve under my lower back, filled with a sponge. And I'm nice and relaxed through my shoulders and my arms. Now, for many people who have been doing this for a while, they will find they can do this automatically, where the globals are switched off, they switch them on, then they switch them off again. But as we progress the exercise, you may find that that won't be automatic. You will have to actually think about it. So I'm going to progress it. A couple of ways of progressing it. One is straighter legs. So a bigger angle under the knee and maintaining that angle. Another way is further away coffee table. I'm going to do both of those. So slightly straighter legs, still relax through my corset muscles, my global abs, my love handles. Now I engage them. Now I switch them off. Now some of you will find you still can do that relatively automatically without really thinking about it. But if you progressed it even more, you may now find you actually have to consciously concentrate on switching them on now and switching them off now. Just like you did when you first started with the basic variation, which we were demonstrating right at the start. You could even do this with basically completely straight legs. That's hard. Now, a little thing, we've straightened the legs to make it harder. We could have actually done the opposite and made it easier by having a smaller angle under the knee. So like you're holding onto a pencil under your knee and coming up. That's a little bit easier. Another way of making it easier is if I had a small step, like one of those step Reeboks, and I had my feet on top of that. I'll have an imaginary step for the moment. So if I was starting from this height and I was only moving through a smaller range, that would be easier as well. With an imaginary step, like I've got at the moment, we're actually doing a variation of scissors, which we're going to be doing soon. So let's just relax. I'm going to move into our spinal rotations. Now, one of the good things about that particular exercise is as we make it harder, the up, up, down, down, we're still able to have a rest, because every time both feet are on the floor, these muscles get a good rest. In fact, even as soon as you've returned one foot to the floor, these muscles get a good rest. Whereas with an exercise like scissors, which I was demonstrating right at the end, then these muscles are just staying under load the whole time, and it's a lot harder. I've already changed sides, so I'm ready to do my clams on this side, and hopefully you are as well. I wasn't worrying too much about the arm on the other side, but I'm going to be doing it right now. You can see obviously what I'm doing. I'm externally rotating at the shoulder as well as at the hip joint. If I did the kick, I could just leave the arm still, or I'll just do it again. I could also extend out at the elbow at the same time as extending out at the knee. And that will get into your triceps, the muscles at the back of your upper arm as well. This area back here. Now, we're not going to be doing a pretzel immediately after this, unless you really want to, in which case stop the video, do a pretzel stretch or several, and then restart the video when you finish doing that. So when you have finished doing your clams, and you're the best judge of that, we're going to go into the Sphinx position, the leg pull prone, and I'll be demonstrating the straight leg variation shortly, but it's not for everybody. Elbows underneath, the shoulders, looking between my hands, lock down the shoulders, and then peel the hips off the floor. Now I'm going to be straightening the legs, so I'll tend to have the hips a little bit higher. And in this position here, right now, my hamstrings are relaxed, but I'm going to curl the toes under. I'm going to straighten one, and then the second leg, and I might only hold it here for an in-breath, and then I'll breathe out and return one foot to the floor, one knee to the floor, and then the other knee, and then I might go again. Or I might have a little rest. My socks are actually sliding a little bit on the carpet at the moment, so I'm going to have a rest at this point, and I'll get my alignment back again in a moment. The squash frog position is always quite relaxing. Obviously I could hold it here for longer. Some people will like an extra challenge. Now keep your knees soft, especially at any time when you're doing this, but especially if you do any of the one leg kick variations. Keep your hips square. You might only do a single kick while you're up there before you return to the mat. Or you might do a few like I just did a moment ago. So that's leg pull prone. We're going to go back onto our side. It won't matter which side, although you will feel it through the hips if you do the same side again, which I'm about to do. Side kick is our first exercise, but then we're going to do killer rotations. This palm is towards the ceiling, and you can always think of levitating this arm as well. Legs straight, forward of the body. My hips are stacked. I'm looking for good alignment, length through my spine. You can use this hand as much as you like initially to get into position, and then just say to yourself, I don't want to use this hand much at all. You might just have fingertip control then, or you may rest that hand on the side of your thigh or come up to lightning rod. And if you're already a bit unstable here, you're already doing the exercise. You don't need to do anything else. Otherwise, we could do a little kick forward. Another option is the little circles forward and up and coming back. Now when I come back, this leg is not coming behind the other leg, the one that's staying still. It's very hard to probably tell from this angle. But if I turn side on, I'm not going to really show you, I'm going to have to lift my legs really high, but this leg's coming up like that, and then it's coming back like that, and then I've changed directions. So I can't quite lift my legs high enough because the video's off the floor. So I'll just continue with my side kick. And I'm going to relax, support my head, because I can do that now. Both legs are bent. I'm going to straighten out the top leg. Killer rotations. I'll do the same thing with my arm. I'm going to internally rotate both and do toe taps. Knee is soft, foot and ankle, toes are relaxed. I'm trying to stay still through your torso. I'm going to go into external rotation now. You know not to reach the floor, or you can reach the floor as long as you can keep your alignment. Otherwise, don't worry if you don't reach the floor. It's okay. And I'm going to go back to toe taps. Another block of toe taps. How many were in your first block? I don't know, 6, 8. Probably a few less in this one. Back to heel taps. Now this is the same side I just did clams on, so it's a little bit more challenging. You can have a little rest if you want, give that area a bit of a rub, or you might just go straight into going toe to heel, toe to heel. So we'll do a pretzel stretches after we've done the other side, of course. And we are now going to roll onto our back. We're going to do dead bugs. And we'll give you the option of doing the crisscross variation of dead bugs today. But I'm going to do 2 sets. I'm going to be in neutral. I'm going to float 1, 2 legs to coffee table. My arms will match my legs. I'm going to start with the same side, arm and leg, stretching out nice and controlled. Now, if I do it slower, it's harder. And the more I stretch the leg out and straighten it, the harder it is as well. At the moment, I'm not crisscrossing. I'm just alternating. I'll do 1 more with the left side. But as it's coming back, I'm going to stretch out. So now I am crisscrossing. Now I'm being acutely aware of whether or not my pelvis is moving, whether I'm dumping my tummy. I am lifting up through pelvic floor. I am drawing my belly button in towards my spine, and I might even be able to do that a little bit faster. Be aware your body is going to be much, much more likely to move around if you do it faster. And when you're ready for a rest, have one. A little round the clock stretch. If you've already turned your feet to the floor, you can continue doing something extremely similar, the pelvic clocks. you'll have a little bit more extension through the lumbar spine. You'll be able to get that bigger arch about now. That's it. Which is why I like this variation even more than the round the clock stretch. But the round the clock stretch is excellent because you fatigue through these muscles and you have a rest through them before you ask for them to stabilize the pelvis and take the legs to the floor. So when you're fatigued in this position, if you're trying to take the legs to the floor, it's hard for these muscles. Whereas if you have your little round the clock stretch up here, those muscles have a chance to recover. I'm back to my dead bugs. This time it's opposite arm, opposite leg. I'll just do one each side and then I'll go into my crisscross. And again, I could go a little bit faster if I wanted to. I might just stick to this speed right now. Again, little round the clock stretch. We're going to work through the muscles on the other side of the body now, because you would have probably noticed it through your hip flexors as well as your abs. So we'll get more into the glute max, hamstrings, and the back muscles with our shoulder bridge lifts. And we have plenty of options with our shoulder bridge lift. Again, you don't have to come all the way up to your ski slope. Working through these muscles, I quite often like to give them a little bit of a hit and remind the brain, hey, this is where I'm supposed to be working. Have a rest when you need to. So you might just be doing your lifts like I'm doing now. If you want to challenge yourself more, you might straighten a leg out or two. You might straighten the leg out as you push into the floor. As I kick out the left leg, I'm pushing into the floor with the left arm. So kick out the right leg, I push with the right arm, which means the opposite arm is doing the movement to the leg. At some point, I do need to rest those muscles. So you've got plenty of options. You could also be doing the leg pull supine, which is this one. Remember, roll the shoulders back, up, back and down, open up across the front of the shoulders and chest. Keep your elbows soft. And again, you could be doing your kicks as well and your holds. And I'm going to roll over onto my other side and move into my side kick. So palm to the ceiling, legs fall to the body, floating those legs off the floor, minimal weight through those fingertips. You're trying to use these small muscles in your lower back to help you to stabilize. The multifidus muscles is the main ones we're focusing on. So your corset muscles are working as they do with all our exercises. If you're not sure or you think you lost my alignment, then just stop, go back to the floor, reset. Get those legs forward to the body. That arm is probably a little bit forward to the body as well. Most people will be popping their rib cage otherwise. And one side is generally more challenging than the other. For most right-handed people, it's the left-hand side. I'm doing little circles. And circles have two directions. And let's get into our killer rotations and our well-earned pretzel stretch afterwards. So, internal rotation, block of toes, or a block of internal rotations, whichever way you want to think about it. Doing it slower, reaching up a little bit higher towards the ceiling with the leg as well is harder, into external rotation. So getting some lovely workout through the rotator cuff muscles of the shoulder as well. Back to internal. If you're doing this with a small weight in your hand, maybe a can of cat food or a small drink bottle, it would be harder. If you're wearing shoes, it would definitely be harder, having a weight at the end of a long lever. And let's go back to external rotation. And your leg is a long lever, so is your arm. And once again, you might stop, give it a bit of a rub. Some people find it helps if they give it a bit of a hit like I just did then. And then we'll go into our toe, to heel, toe to heel, and we'll do a few of those. And then I think if you're like me, you are definitely looking forward to a pretzel stretch. So that's our next move. The two main ones, as usual, focusing on, normally I draw this ankle and shin up and push this knee away, but you can also do it while the foot is on the floor. It just changes the angle. To be honest, I'm not getting a great stretch there. Now I am. So drawing this ankle and knee up, pushing this knee away, gets into those gluteal muscles that you're just noticing giving you a fantastic burn. And the ones for the deep lateral rotators, more the clam muscles, pulling the knee across the body, peeling the hip off the floor. You've got plenty of other variations to stretch out through the hips. Feel free to look at my technique videos, and I go through quite a few of them there. Do compare sides. I know I'm going to be a bit sore on this side, I can feel it already, but this is the side that I just did. So you'll usually feel a bit sore on the side that you've only just recently completed. So I'm getting a much better stretch with the foot on the floor than I did on the other side. Get into those deep lateral rotators. So I'm drawing this knee up towards the opposite shoulder, towards the opposite knee, towards the opposite ear. I'm tripping over my tongue a few times today, so apologies for that. When you finish doing your pretzel stretches, and feel free to take your time doing it, we've got a lovely stability exercise with our knee drops and our hip rolls. So we've almost finished. We've still got a few tough exercises to go. So I'm going to just push my mat up so I can slide on the carpet when I get into my hip rolls. So feet are hip width apart. Be aware what it feels like when you do roll your hips left to right. You're feeling across the back of your sacrum and pelvis, and that's the feeling you don't want to feel as you drop a knee out to the side, rocking onto the outside of that foot, breathe in as it comes back, and then swap sides. Now I'm just using my hands here just to give extra sensory feedback to my brain, a sense of touch, kinesthetic feedback, and I have my elbows off the floor. It'd be even a little bit harder stability-wise then. But I like to think, as usual, there's a marble balanced on a plate sitting above my belly button. I'm trying to keep my marble as still as I possibly can. I could make this a little bit more challenging by dropping an arm out to the same side as the knee. It's easier in one way, it's harder in many ways. But I'm going to do my hip rolls now. I'm going to start today with sliding directly out, lengthening through that heel before I externally rotate without losing my marble. Slide back along the same groove and then bring the knee back in. Swapping legs, breathing out and out, breathing in and in. Enjoy that lengthening down the back of your leg, through the calf, the back of the knee, through your hamstrings. You may be losing your socks like I am, but I know that if I was to sit up, I'd see two lovely grooves in my carpet parallel. This is our hip rolls. Remember I mentioned scissors earlier, the up, up, down, down version of scissors? We're going to go into that now. Start with a smaller movement. This is a hard exercise. Breathing out and out. Take a breath in. Breathing out and out. I might start with the other leg. Breathing out and out. Breathing out and out. Straighter legs, further away coffee table, much harder. Going closer to the floor, much harder. So the lower your virtual step, the harder it is. Doing it slower is harder. Straighter legs, further away coffee table, harder again. Are you still breathing? I'm hoping so. It is hard. So listen to your body, have a rest whenever you need to. If you're doing a harder variation like I showed you at the end there, you might only do 2 or 3 reps. Just do them well. It's better to do 2 or 3 really well than to do more not well. So when you have finished doing enough of those, we are going to have a little bit of a breather. I haven't actually got it on my class plan here, but we'll do a little bit of our spinal rotation. Just dropping the knees one way, rolling the head the other, and then coming back. So we're almost finished. We've got one strength exercise on our side coming up with the right angle triangle, the side bend. And we've got a lovely stability exercise with our all fours swimming in between the 2 sides. So you'll feel you're getting a lovely stretch, not just through the side of the lower back of the waist, but also through the hips. You might actually turn this into a bit of a pretzel stretch as well by picking up the leg closer to the floor and placing that on top of the knee and using this hand as well, maybe for a bit of extra weight. You'll use the hand as well to slowly come out of the stretch. And then you might go the other way. Again, I'm using that hand to come back up. So the right angle triangle. We have got the paint the rainbow version today, and I'm going to do the bent kneed, straight-legged variation, which is my favorite of this one. You can do it straight-legged as well, and it's harder. So if you're doing the bent arm one, you'd be going from here to here and back. You might rest your hips on the mat, or you might keep them just hovering above the mat like I'm doing now. Now they're relaxed. But with the straight arm, start from here. I'm going to just bring my hand in just a little bit. There we go. So allow yourself to go banana shape. Notice how the shoulder's still staying low. It's not creeping up towards my ears. Breathe in, breathe out. Laterally flex. Breathe in, breathe out. Elbows soft. So if I was doing this up against the wall, the back of my left and my right shoulder would still be touching the wall the whole time, as would the back of my left and my right hips, or my left and my right buttocks. So I'm not twisting at all. Just a little bit more with that, and then we'll go into all fours swimming, and then we'll do the other side to finish off. You might start simply with the leg slide. You might go straight into your opposite arm. Elbows soft. Head and neck in good alignment. You might lift and hold. You're trying to minimize any side-to-side movement. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it particularly well front on, but minimizing that movement of your hips left to right. One more. Have a little child's pose. And you may remember there's a few variations of this one as well. And we'll finish off with our final exercise, which, as I said before, was the side bend, paint the rainbow. It's a tough exercise. Crunching these undersided muscles together, the hips and the ribs. Shoulder stays low, elbow stays soft. And just as I finish off my last one or two, I'll just remind you of the bent arm version, where you don't go banana shaped. You just get that lateral flexion and you come back to that straight line, that hypotenuse. And relax. Excellent work. So a bit of a tough finish there with the right angle triangle. I'll be back with your next class probably in about a week's time. So have an awesome 7 days until then. Thank you very much.